Okay, it's exactly 8:30, so I'm going to call the meeting to order.
Has everybody got their microphones on?
And some of the extension staff is here. So I call the meeting to order at 8:30. I'll just make a couple quick notes here, but I guess it's going to be recorded, so if we don't get the right notes, that'll be taken care of. So we have 11 item agenda. Can somebody approve that?
Yep, I'll move to approve.
I'll second it.
Was that Dawn?
Yep,
And second? Tell me your name when you say
second.
second, because is Andy?
Todd,
Andy's the second. And October 14th minutes, I need an okay there.
I will approve the minutes.
Andy? And the
Todd,
se-
yes.
Who's the second?
yeah, I'll second.
Dawn?
Yep, I'll second. It's gone. Yep.
Okay, I guess we go right to education reports. Melissa, do you want to, or who wants to start? Is that,
I would not want to start because I'm firing up my presentation.
so you didn't want to start? One other little thing here. In the rush this morning, I don't know why it had to be that way, I knew it was happening. I forgot my hearing aids. So if I'm keep repeating myself or asking, that's my excuse, so we're going to the 4-H. Oh, excuse me, I actually missed one. Got to back up a little bit. As long as Nancy's here.
Yes, I'm here.
I'm sorry, Nancy. You were on the agenda.
All right, well, it's quick anyway. I think it was about October, I checked on the website and a bunch of images were missing. And so I got a hold of the guy that's the webmaster, and I found out, his name is Ted Helgeson. I found out that he had moved to Janesville, and he said he was having health problems. And there was some kind of glitch with WordPress. So at that point, I contacted Derek Westby, who you maybe remember, and he is redoing the website, and we're going to be using Squarespace. But there is a lot of material to transfer over. So once that gets transferred, we'll be up again, and the website will then be have a little bit of a new look, but basically be the same as it was. So everybody just has to be patient. And they said the reason that all these images disappeared, this is what Ted told me, was WordPress told them that I hadn't been on that site for a couple of months. And I said, well, yeah, it's summer, you know. I don't spend much time indoors on the computer when it's summer. I don't have the time. So anyway, we're switching to Squarespace, and I think that'll be a better fit. So that's basically my report.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions by anyone out there?
No, but let us know when it's all up and running.
Well, I will. I know there's just a lot of material to transfer. We had over like 1,000 pictures, you know, so it takes a while.
Sure.
Okay. We're back to Andrea.
You guys should have it in your packet, but anyone who's here, do you want my report? It's super short. No? Okay. Do you have one, Doc?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
So lately I've been trying to pick something specific in the program to report on, but I didn't have anything that fell in my lap as conveniently as I would have liked, so I'm just gonna tell you guys what I've been doing. A little boring, but I've been working with Adam at the Blair and Whitehall CLC programs, which is their after-school program, so we've been doing a lot of, or like about once a month, we've been going there and doing some programming. This last time I made Christmas cards with the kids for Meals on Wheels. So, well, some of them made Christmas cards. Others got glued together into a big heap because regretfully I used liquid glue and I should have used the sticks. But that's fine. we're just gonna get more stick glue. But, so we made some Christmas cards. It went pretty well. Talked to them a little bit about people who are not able to leave their homes during the holidays and how nice it is to receive a card. So hopefully giving them a little bit of a small piece of service learning opportunities that other kids normally would get. I went down to All Colleague in November, which is where most people in Extension go down to Madison just to kind of regroup, and I got some cool ideas from it that I've started to implement into my thing, or my programming. One of them being I was going to send out a program survey because I want to figure out more direction on where people want me to go. Mainly, are there volunteers I need to be recruiting? That there's specific things people want to see that I haven't found that person yet. So, because I have conversations with people, but I don't always have conversations with all the people. And that's kind of a loose term, but finding out a way I can get more people to tell me kind of what they're looking for so that I'm not speaking to the people who I know, who I see more often and I have a relationship with. I'm testing out a different way to do my newsletter. I'm trying to do it weekly instead of once a month, because sometimes deadlines elapse by the time I get it into the newsletter, or you get a couple days because, well, it's near the deadline. It's been going pretty well. I'm using a service that I was already using before that shows me like what people are clicking on and then how many people have opened it and like reacted to it. So I'm also using that as a way of what are people actually getting out of my newsletter and what can I put more of into it. I have a survey on there that they haven't really responded to, but the data I've been collecting the past couple of weeks is giving me just about as much information. And then I'm just planning winter and summer programming, trying to get some of that on my calendar and also get through the holiday season. Because I don't have daycare for most of it, so I have to take some time off. But any questions on what I'm up to? Work I'm doing? It was quick, but
Is everybody good?
Yeah, no, thanks, Andrea, for the update.
perfect.
Thanks, Andrea.
Yeah, thank you. And we're gonna go, I'm sorry, you have to, it's so far in between. Are you, food-wise? No.
I'm the new area director, so I'm the new area director, so I'll do my report after they're done with theirs.
Okay,
So, but-
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
No problem.
Yeah. So Adam, are you ready?
Adam Trenzo, so I'm a youth and families educator. I'm 60% in Trempealeau County, and I work with youth, and then I also work with parents and families. So you'll see my report broken down as such. So to start off with the youth education, teaching and coordinating a lot of direct STEM education programs. Andrea already mentioned it. In addition to the Blair Taylor CLC and the Whitehall CSC, I also work with the Arcadia CLC, and that's 21st Century Learning Center, CLC. And so they've got after-school programming, and it's typically aimed towards those youth who need a little bit of extra support, especially after school, being able to have a safe, supervised area with people who care about them. And we noticed that outcomes improve drastically for youth who are what some might consider at risk, being able to have those early interventions in their life and to say, hey, somebody cares about me. That does a lot for all of their decision-making moving all the way up. In addition to that, we also have STEM education resources that we lend to schools. I also do library programs, so Osseo, Trempealeau, Whitehall, Independent, I mean, the whole run of them. And it's a similar situation where having a safe space for youth to go, where they know that people care about them, they can get the resources they need, and parents can have their kids somewhere is very, very critical to keeping people here in Trempealeau County, making sure they have positive outcomes and succeed in graduating from high school and being successful further on. Similarly, because we are a part of something called Juntos, which we've kind of mentioned before, and we received grants from them regularly. We have another one kind of on the books for, I believe it is $3,000 for next spring to do programming that's already been approved. But because we're a part of that group, and it's a national organization of different states doing that. We wrote for and submitted, and we should find out this Friday if Trempealeau County got a $350,000 grant to work with the Arcadia and probably the independent school districts to have an agri-science career pathways person to support their juniors and seniors in understanding and exploring careers in agri-science. Most notably, that person would be bilingual and be able to kind of bridge that gap between a lot of the companies and organizations that have vested interests in that. I've already been reached out to by Western Technical College, and because we are writing this grant, they are considering bringing what they have in Toma to Arcadia as far as agri-science career pathways. So we're already seeing kind of the work that we can do if it gets a large enough kind of atmosphere around it. It can pull in some of those other organizations to support and kind of work together. So that's a lot of the youth education. Under family education, some work in the jail, some work with diversion agreements. And diversion is kind of, rather than going through the justice system, they say, hey, if you agree to go through these steps, it's still over your head, but if you agree to go through all these steps, we can not have you go into the justice system, which costs a lot of money, costs a lot of pain too, waiting for your court date, potentially, having a certain amount of jail time, different things like that. So because of that, and I want to focus on one person that's been coming, they typically only have to come for 1 or 2 sessions. This person met with me and they decided to come almost weekly now just to check in and let me know how they're doing. And every time we do, we get to show the spectrum of extension, and I'm able to bring something new to their life to move their life forward. So they're getting a GED. They're having more positive outcomes for their children because of some of the things that I mentioned too. I mentioned them a library program, and I saw them at that same library program, and that's helpful having extension embedded in that community. So I see them there. I just saw them yesterday when I was at Quick Trip, and they said, hey, what's that thing about getting financial aid for college? And I told them the website, and they plugged in right there. They said, cool, great. I don't mean to bug you on off hours, and I was happy to help. So that's just like the reach of extension that we have. And then there's a lot of fatherhood-specific things. I'm a dad. Notably, there are not a lot of dads in extension in the parenting education field. I think that's across all spectrums. So in that situation, I do fill that role. So teaching virtual, focus on fathers. And one of the things that fathers did in the fatherhood assessment we had is they want to hear from other dads. They don't want to read a book. They don't want to watch a video. And there's some mom groups or different options to that, but there aren't a lot of dad groups out there. And so we've been working on making sure that there's some peer-to-peer work going on there. Taught 2 Dad and Me events, and if you see on the next page, you'll see pictures of those events, and that's with the Head Start programs in Galesville and Independence. And the one in Independence notably was linguistically inclusive. So we had an interpreter there, and so you have Latino dads and you have non-Latino dads talking with each other, bridging that divide over something that's universal, being parents and working with their youth. And then we were able to have them do an activity with their kids. So just kind of another notable thing, in addition to parenting, you're also bridging some of those other universal divides. Then presented at the first Wisconsin Fatherhood Conference to show the work that we've been doing in Trempealeau County and spreading that around the state to others. So being able to increase the impact there. Any questions about the youth or family education before I briefly go into just kind of the capacity building?
No questions for me.
You'll see building capacity in the report, and there's various organizations that I'm supporting. The Alliance for Youth is looking at bringing in some peer mental health clubs for school districts. That's through the National Alliance for Mental Illness, so working with that local group here. The Resilient Trauma Informed Communities, we had a very, very successful in November, and I encourage anybody to attend it. It's twice a year, November and May, and we bring together everybody who has a vested interest in kind of the resiliency and mental health of our communities. We had about 40 people there, from anything from the healthcare center to Bridges Health in Winona, to the Galesville school psychologist, and they talked about and they gathered and discussed some of the main topics. And it's so critical to have that interconnected community where if you have a youth in crisis, the person that they come to knows who to send them to next, and they have that warm handshake and that warm handoff to make sure that they're their best outcomes for them. Jail to Community Reentry Coalition, we're already distributing donations. I've got a lot of people on the phone so that when somebody says, I need a gas card and clothes for an interview and a ride to La Crosse, I can figure it out for them. The CJCC, the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, we had a smaller meeting this last month, but notably, we had the Sheriff's Department's data person connecting with the Eau Claire data people to be able to start coordinating a lot of the information that we gather, the quantitative data about the justice system, so that we can actually track and understand what interventions we do and if they're having an impact. 'Cause right now, we're kind of guessing, and each set of information is siloed within the organization that gathers it, so we're trying to gather that together and make sure that we can track people as they move through the justice system instead of just at arrest, or just in the probation and parole, or just in the jail. The Restorative Justice Committee is exploring options for a teen court restorative justice program, so having other youth work with youth who offend in a school district to determine what the outcomes are and how to restore the harm that youth did to another youth. So instead of suspensions, instead of fines, actually making or encouraging that person to sit with what they did and understand it and wrap their heads around it and accept it and move towards repairing it. The Opioid Settlement Committee will be meeting a little bit later today, and we're moving forward on kind of gathering some community information on it. And then the Treatment and Diversion Oversight Committee, we completed our continuation grant. So that's what I got.
Okay. Dawn, did you have something there?
No, I was coughing. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And Melissa, are you ready now? I guess, yeah.
So I put together a PowerPoint. I had to do this for some other reasons, so I'm just trying to kill all the birds with one PowerPoint here. So, and it's working. Okay, so this is kind of a year in review. On my report that I distributed, you saw a quarterly report, but I wanted to put together a couple things. I have a faculty review I have to do next year, and I have another county I report to, so it was just easier to kind of consolidate. So I'm very chronological, so the first thing I thought of was how Extension kind of stepped in and helped with the in-service day that they have here at the county for staff for MLK Day. At the time, Tim Robertson was serving several roles, and I think he was really grateful that we stepped in and helped with that event. We helped with doing strategic plan updates, and I led a Real Colors in the Workplace exercise, and he sent a really nice note to our dean, I heard. So I think he was very grateful that most of the office stepped in and helped with that. And I think it was a good way for us to meet people who work for the county that we don't normally interact with. You know, this is a big building, and we don't always run into everybody. So it was a nice chance to see and be seen and meet others. And then now going till the end of the year, I did report to the Emergency Management Committee last week. That includes Andy and Dawn, but Rebecca has asked me to step in and help with some of the year-end deliverables for the emergency management grants that the county receives because Dustin went back to dispatch at the end of the summer. So it turned out that the things that were left to do were things kind of already in my wheelhouse. One was outreach to municipalities on their emergency plans. And I have all those folks on speed dial because I communicate with the other clerks all the time. So it was easy to check that off the list. And I did a couple other outreach activities. Dustin has been really helpful. It's nice that he's still in the building. He also left the grants in a really great place, so I just had a couple things left to do. And then the state person in charge of the grants, Lisa, has also been very helpful. She really wanted a couple surveys. I do surveys all the time, as you're going to see in another slide. So it just worked out really well to be able to finish this in the last couple weeks here. And then I just need Rebecca's signatures on a couple things and pretty much done. So I also provided, I got a lot of grant money for different things in my counties this year. Got a lot of Clean Sweep money in Clark County and did an event there. Clean Sweep works a little bit different in this county. And I provided technical assistance to other counties in our area, again, with some surveys, a community needs assessment for Pepin County. I taught at science camp. I taught about the water cycle. It was kind of the year of the water when it wasn't the year of the election training. And then I helped with a placemaking workshop in Fairchild. A big part of my programming is local government education, and I taught the year in the life of the clerk across the state and virtually. And from that, I have a lot of clerk requests. What has been interesting too about the emergency management grant is I see the need to have more outreach to municipalities on their emergency plans. And I know Dustin had said it was a little bit of a struggle to get them to respond. And so I'm hoping that I could help with that going forward. I also work with the Secretary of State on helping provide work study students assistance to municipalities, to county clerks and municipal clerks, just with administrative tasks that they have. I provided a couple how to run for elected office workshops to groups by request. I actually just did an interview with public radio on that yesterday. And then this programs for clerks is kind of this collective bucket. The university did a PR, I don't know what you would call it, story on just how important clerks are to their communities and the support that we do with our education. So that was one thing. It was a very busy year for elections. I trained over 600 election workers, about 200 here in Trempealeau County. I trained in both the spring and then in the fall I trained a lot. And I designed the curriculum for election workers so that they meet their 3 hours of training requirements. I was featured in a lot of media stories. I was very popular in Canada for a week because their public radio interviewed me. And then I also did the Meet the Candidate shows with Kevin at WTCO. I did actually 2 series of those, one for the August election and one for the fall election. It's a lot of herding cats to get that many candidates. There's a lot of candidates on the ballot this fall, in August, so a lot of people to get in one place to interview. And then I do a lot of surveys. So I did one for the Clark County Forestry. I also did one for the Wisconsin Downtown Action Council. I'm on their board, and we did one on the state of downtowns. And I already talked about the ones I did for the Secretary of State. Provided technical assistance to the Regional Partners Network with some grant support that they had at the beginning of this year when it comes to outdoor recreation and parks. I mentioned also I did a lot of water testing. I had big water testing programs in both of my counties this year. In Clark, I had one in the spring, and then in Trempealeau, I had one in November. Had almost 120 households in Trempealeau County participate, and there'll be a water education program next month for those folks. And then I received a grant from my dean to do additional water testing for farm employer provided housing. And that was across a couple counties. I had a lot of participation in both Trempealeau and Buffalo counties. I had lots of opportunities to share my work. I did a statewide lunch and learn on the closure of rural pharmacies with the Community Economic Development Center at UW Extension. Also got to share information on farm water testing, and then also had some opportunities to talk about agricultural plastics recycling. I share this picture because even though I was on Canadian television, my parents thought it was great that I presented for a lunch session at my grad school. So like the alumni exchange was the only thing that they paid any attention to the entire year. So there it is with a picture. And that's probably on their Christmas card right now, is that one. Not Canadian
Aw,
television.
very nice.
Yeah. You know you've made it when you get to talk at, your college. So looking ahead to 2025, honestly, I struggled with this slide because I feel like I'm just still trying to wrap up 2024. But I would like to do more community development work. Regional planning out of Eau Claire has asked me to do a downtown development, Charette and Abbotsford, where I've done other downtown work. I really love how cool their downtown has become. It's kind of similar to Arcadia's. And then I have a couple of ideas for some entrepreneurship and community development strategies in Trempealeau County, both in Whitehall and Galesville, and possibly some branding and placemaking initiatives. In Trempealeau County, there's some grant opportunities for those too. I also need to wrap up the water testing work that was done late this year in Trempealeau County and with my Dean's grant. And then some educational events for newly elected officials. I'd also like to help do some technical assistance on those emergency management plans, and then assist the new emergency management coordinator when that person comes on board with some of the things that I had to do for the purposes of the grant. But one of those things, for example, was hosting workshops, and I'm happy to help with that and coordinate those. I'm known as the party planner in Extension, so I'm all about putting on some workshops. And then I'd like to help too with kind of getting some more municipal involvement. Otherwise, this year, I kind of had some cool things happen. I became a professor at UW Extension, at UW-Madison, I guess, in July. And then just last week, I was named to the Create Wisconsin, used to be Arts Wisconsin board, which is a huge honor. And so, I don't know, kind of my highlights. Did I forget anything? Questions? Dawn?
No, I knew you were going to ask me. No, I actually don't have any questions, but it's a very nice presentation and a
Thank you.
good summary of your work, which looks like it's been keeping you busy.
Yeah. I'm ready for a new year, though.
Right.
Anything else out there? I thought interesting that the closure of pharmacy
Oh,
was
yeah.
brought up and Blair closed.
I
Just
know.
so
I-
sad to hear those folks will have to make the trip to
Yeah.
Whitehall now, but
So I sent that to my co-author on that work because pharmacies are really overlooked, and how important they are. And like
Right.
when you see hospitals leave or regionalize, sometimes a pharmacy is the only source of health care that a community has left. Because
Right.
pharmacists go through just about as much education as physicians do. And sometimes they're the ones that are kind of the stopgap from keeping people from needing like more costly services like hospitalization. And they provide services that keep people out of the hospital, like blood pressure
Yes.
checks. And now you lose that, and you've lost that source of health care when you're already in a healthcare desert in some areas, so.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate.
okay. Director, do we have the director out there?
That's me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're
It's-
okay. Just an update too, I want to let everybody know April is homesick with the FoodWise program. So her report is included. Her and Muriel have been doing great stuff in Trempealeau County. So be sure to check out their numbers that are included with that report that was sent to you. So, and she regrets not being able to make it, but she was going back to bed when I talked to her this morning. So for those of you who I haven't met, which is pretty much everyone but Kevin and Becky, my name is Sarah Torbert. I'm the new Area 9 Director. So previously it would have been Pat Malone. So she's whose spot I took. I started November 11th. So it's been just over a month that I've been here. I was able to go to the county board meeting, so I saw some of you there. Also have been able to go to a department head meeting and just try to be engaged and involved here in Trempealeau County, even though I spend a lot of time in Buffalo and Jackson and Pepin counties also. I don't necessarily have a report. Things are pretty new, and most of the things I wanted to talk about are included as agenda items. But I just entertain any questions people have. I moved here from Wyoming, but I am a Wisconsin native. I grew up in Watertown, Wisconsin, so in the southeastern part of Wisconsin for my entire life. Wind River Falls and Stout, so I have some fond memories of this area. So it's good to be back and be able to help out here with Extension. So.
Okay, staff updates, where am I going there? Is that going to be yours?
Yeah,
again?
I can talk about that. So, just so that all of you know, Becky and Andrea and the DA's office and I met last week, and we will be hiring a 50% time administrative assistant that will share our time with the DA's office. So I think that the job description is out there looking for applicants. So if you know anybody who would be interested in applying, please encourage them to do so. we did kind of work out some of the details, but then also realized there'll be lots of opportunities to remold that and retool that based on who's hired and how things go. But the plan for now is the DA's office will have them all day Monday because that's their busy day. We'll have them all day Tuesday, and then we'll split Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. They'll work in the morning in the DA's office, like physically be there, and then in the afternoons in the extension office, just to kind of create some consistency with hours. So if people want to come and visit, or they need to have some assistance, that they'll know someone will always be in our office during those times. And I think the DA's office and the extension office was open to the idea of if work needed to be done for each office within that like space, they could always do work at their computer or whatever if they had extra time for the opposite office, depending where they are. But I think it was a good meeting because all of us understand that it's going to be a work in progress and nothing set in stone as we kind of move forward. So I just wanted to update everybody on what that looks like. So any questions about that position? And I think that the second one is a little bit, probably more needs some action items. Most of you know or can see that Steve Okonek left. His last day was November 28th, I believe. So he is no longer with us, which leaves an open position. And that's a position that's funded with Buffalo, Trempealeau, and Jackson counties. So I've been working with the administrators in both Becky and Lee in Buffalo County, and then also the board, because they don't have an administrator in Jackson County. Last week, the Jackson County office or board committee voted that they would be interested in continuing that position. If there was also interest from Trempealeau and Buffalo County, I think they're interested in that shared position. And so I would just look to see kind of where people are at and what their thoughts are as far as how we move forward to potentially refill the position that Steve left. So I guess I would just like some thoughts or comments, or maybe Becky has some thoughts on this too that we can share. And that might be related to the next agenda item, which is the 136 contract also. So I'll leave that out there on the table and maybe look for some thoughts or questions you might have about that.
I guess I'll just follow up in saying I have been in contact with Jackson and Buffalo. At this time, it sounds like Buffalo will not be continuing the position. I've also spoken with the chair of personnel bargaining, Kellen Nelson, to talk to him about that. He wants to, we're talking about doing some follow-up and determining what next steps we want to think about here, because if Buffalo doesn't continue the position, how that impacts what we would be doing and the cost then to the county. So we have some unknowns right at this moment. And I mean, I want to follow back up with Buffalo just to make sure that that's for sure. In some ways, if the person is split only between two counties, it's positive, but also the cost is more, and so we have to determine if that's the way that we want to move that forward. Or would it be better to take that position and wrap it into another one that's split quite a bit, community development and, something like that. So anyway, we have a lot of just things that are being thrown out there in discussion right now.
Okay. Dawn, did you have something again, or did keep
No,
picking?
sorry, I'm just.
No,
I
you're
w- I
fine.
was
I
thinking
guess I won't
about it,
ask again.
but-
That can come up for different reasons. And I've got my list here. Youth Government Day. Was there anything there?
Sure, I just didn't know if there's any more discussion about the ag position or what people are thinking. I have not heard directly from Buffalo County. I keep trying to nail them down as to their thoughts, but haven't got a lot of feedback from that. So we'll continue to keep you updated on what they say. So, so the next, we wanted to put on the agenda, there's been some interest in hosting some events that help to engage young people here in both government and within the community and leadership. And so I think that Adam and Andrea and I kind of thought about hosting a youth government day and wanted to just get maybe approval or the go-ahead from the committee that that's something that maybe Extension should be interested in doing. So I don't know, Adam and Andrea, if you want to kind of explain what that looks like. I think it's been done in the past, So maybe just an update is kind of what that looks like, and then maybe just a blessing or idea that that's something that you would like to see the extension office do with in the future.
Okay, on the agenda here is retooling. Extension report to best inform the community.
So do we want to talk about the Youth Government Day real quick before we?
Oh, okay,
Is that
yes,
all right?
yes, I'm sorry.
No. I think Andrea was going to mention just
Yeah.
kind of briefly what it is.
Yeah, so I have not been lucky to be able to attend a Youth Government Day yet because we have had COVID, and then last year we had to cancel it. But my understanding is it's really you bring youth from their social studies class in high school to the county government building, and you really start making that connection of here's what the government is, here's what we do. Hopefully you can get like an interview with the judge and the sheriff's department and stuff like that, and really be that connecting piece between. I don't know if Adam has anything else to add to that. He
Yeah.
has more experience than me.
Yeah, so I've attended and supported these in the past. The teachers are still there. Robert Nixon, Independence, Frank Jurish in Whitehall. They were the spearheads of this, along with Paul Severson, who would invite them in, inviting local officials, and then they just kind of rotate through in some meaningful way to the different agencies and departments here. I mean, I think it would be pretty low-hanging fruit, but I think that we just have to have some level of emphasis on it or attention to it. So, general thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down, and or other thoughts that people would like to see incorporated into that as we move that forward and build a committee from the different school districts.
I also used to help with that day when we had it prior to COVID, where, I mean, Paul did a lot of it, and Rose, Autumn too, but one of the things that we did here is I set up the voting machine, and people, they got to try voting, which is really important because it's nerve-wracking to go in the first time. But I do know that, now that, I mean, Paul is retiring, but he had quite the program at one time. I want to say it was felt like 100 kids, but maybe it just seemed that way.
Yeah, no, it was about that.
Okay,
So the idea, the idea then is to get a group of schools and students together to move forward. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit lost.
Yeah, it sounds like it's kind of bringing it back from before, reaching out to those schools, and then having them bring their students here to understand and kind of get some level of ownership and understanding of local government, and to meet the people who kind of do it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good thing to do for sure. I know that in healthcare too, we bring in students from schools just to introduce them into lots of different opportunities that are present within the healthcare field to try to, get people interested, right? So it's kind of the same idea with the local government. Correct? That's the idea I'm getting.
Yeah.
Yes, and sometimes there's a little bit more different or participatory. So meeting their regional, elected officials and different things like that. And maybe I'm not sure if they did it.
So it could move outside of the regional or local government a little bit.
Yeah, I think they invited some of the state representatives to speak and to listen.
And I'm sure participation from you guys would also be appreciated to make that ask.
I do know in the health and human services field, which I'm part of over the years, they've had similar programs too. So I think it's a valued thing to continue.
What time when are you thinking? When during the year were you thinking that you would put this?
I know they typically did it in April. And I know they worked with the American Legion, so Brian Liga. I've been in contact with him about other things, and so, I mean, I don't want to take him out of the picture because he's been doing it, and I think that's part of a part of American Legion. I'm not in the American Legion, so I don't know. But I think that might be part of it.
And how long a period of time are they here at the all day?
Yeah.
I'm just kind of, because of the transition with Paul being gone and Rose being gone, and if they were the ones really that we're in charge of that's my concern is the new individuals coming in and managing that. So, I mean, I think it's a great thing and would be a great idea.
I think the idea was probably because they're both gone that maybe this office would then manage that instead of them, and create those partnerships and bring them together and do the scheduling work that previously was done by Paul and Rose. I think that we're willing to do that just as a start. This is kind of a conversation, Becky, you and I had about that idea of keeping kids here and helping them understand. And this is like an easy way to get started that maybe then could potentially evolve into something much greater with local government. So it was kind of an idea that something that we could accomplish easily within the next 6 to 8 months in order to make that happen, to then build on that and move forward. So
I think that'd be a great start, and especially knowing that if Extension can step into that role, where the new people are just coming in, I think that would be a great idea.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of this being a springboard to further youth development. Yeah, it's great.
Take a load off of their plate. Will they learn their role? We can just step in.
So I'm hearing overall people are saying go for it. It sounds like a great idea. Okay. Perfect.
Okay, we're gonna back to the retooling. Do we have a,
Yeah, so again, we met as an office and maybe I'll divert to Adam too about how some of this, I think that oftentimes not everyone understands what we do in Extension and has a picture of how our work reaches a much broader audience. So we'd like to take the opportunity to ask for the ability to maybe focus each of our months on a particular way of how we present information. And so we have some ideas and we'd open the floor to additional ideas, but spending some time helping you see the work that we're doing in a different light. So some of the ideas are maybe at our next meeting, having some opportunities to present our reach as to where our programming's reach the county and how they reach the county. So that one, county reach, with some mapping just to show how Extension looks and where some of the different educators are pinpointing and showing their services. Another potential thought of a way we can share our work is how our work financially contributes to the county, and maybe kind of how much service you're getting for the investment that you're putting into the educators and the different programs. And then maybe 1 month bringing in some of our community partners to talk about the impact it's had, like maybe even if Adam's thinking to what he's talking about today, the young man that you saw at Quick Trip, if that person's willing to come in and just, and maybe it's not him, but somebody just come in and talk about the ways that Extension affects them, so you can see the humanized stories of that also. Another one we talked about was maybe moving our August or June meeting to July, so you can come to actual program that's happening, the science camp, or other programs, so you can see the work in action and see what people are doing. And then another one we thought about was even having the opportunity, if you're all here, to be able to do what maybe is a weird term, but speed dating, where you can actually do some one-on-one talk with the different people that are in the office. But we would just really like to have the opportunity to see if you're okay with kind of rethinking how we present our data and present our work to you, so that we can get the most impact and that you really can have a better understanding of how the extension is affecting the greater community and the greater people of Trempealeau County. So I think it's more just an idea, and then maybe just the blessing to be okay with retooling or refixing the meetings that we have to be able to do that.
Yeah, I actually think that's a super great idea. I'd love to have it changed so that, the time that we spend with you is taking us around, showing us the work, and, maybe not all of the time, because we obviously do have to have time to talk about business and, all the things. But yeah, I like it.
I do too also.
And I just want to say, I take no ownership of this. It's Adam, so I appreciate him. I just get to present the idea, so it makes me sound great, but really he came up with it, so thanks.
I'm in support of it.
So then I would just ask too, I have those ideas written down, and I think we'll start with the county reach next month, just because it makes the most sense to maybe show where our work impacts the county. But if you have other ideas of ways you'd like to see the educators present the things that they're doing, please let us know, and we'd love to be able to incorporate that into what we're doing also.
Okay, is there anything else out there that I see, but I think we have everybody, there is a picture on the screen that I'm not aware of who it is.
Jason, that'd be, my boss.
Your boss?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Welcome aboard. Okay. I guess we're down to next meeting. We'd been going every 2 months, but from the comments you're making, is that,
No, I think that's fine. We have six ideas for different things, so I think February would be completely okay.
February makes sense to you?
Yes, yep.
Okay, saying that, we'll take a look here and see what I've got on, I got a big calendar for. So is Tuesday after the meeting is monthly, does that work with everybody? Which would be, I would guess, the 18th of February, I'm pretty sure. I don't have next year's calendar
Yeah,
in front.
18.
Yep, that should
That
work.
works for me.
Are we okay with the
18th.
18th of February?
Let's do it.
8:30 on the 18th.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Well, thank everybody for putting up with me, and sorry I couldn't hear some of it, but I'm here. So thanks again, and I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 9:17.
Have
Thanks
a good day,
again.
everyone.
Yep, have a good day.